Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist. I own 52 units of real estate and I help coach people to buy their first multifamily deal. So today I want to talk about why the FIRE movement is so hard to achieve. So FIRE stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. And I would say, depending on which route you take, it takes a long period of time. So the fastest way is if you get a business and you basically scale a business, and it may take 5 to 10 years at fastest. It's not the route that I'm choosing to go down, but if you can somehow make a business where you can remove yourself from the business and make enough passive income from that business that it will cover your basic your lifestyle number. So if you need 20,000 bucks a month, could your business passively make you 20,000 bucks a month, so that despite you being removed from the day-to-day operations, and that allows you to retire? But I will preface that with business, there's always the risk, because if, let's just say, it is working passively without you, making 20K a month, well, if your key leader, so maybe your CEO or your COO, they leave all of a sudden, now you're stuck filling that position in again, unless if you have a really good training system. So I would say that while owning a business can be the fastest path to FIRE, oftentimes most business owners, speaking from experience, end up working longer time, right? So they end up working a lot longer. Um, and business income isn't always guaranteed, right? So like, for example, I tried doing an Amazon drop shipping store, which I thought would be super passive. And Amazon drop shipping was really hot for a few years, but now it's dead and now it's making no money. Another business is like fix and flipping, but once again, it's very active. Unless you're like a private money lender, it's really hard to replace yourself. So the only way that you could truly become passive from this is if you're like a private money lender and you almost like become like a bank. So business is probably the fastest way to achieve FIRE, 5 to 10 years. But like I said, it's not always guaranteed. It's not always consistent, and you may end up having to go back into that business if push comes to shove. So the second fastest path to FIRE is real estate. So I'd say it's about 10 to 15 years, or 10 to 20 years, I would say. So 10 years is the fastest, 20 years is probably the most realistic. 15 to 20 is the most realistic. And that's kind of the path that I chose to do because, with real estate, it is truly more passive if you have property management in place. Yes, there is a syndication model where you just put money in as a limited partner and you get, supposedly passive monthly checks, but a lot of syndicators are getting wiped out right now. So for me, I actually favor more so in, doing real estate yourself, right? So like, buying in good areas, making sure that you can rent it out, making sure that it's a newer home and it's an area that's going to appreciate well where there's jobs, right? So for me, it's Huntsville, Alabama, where there is, a little appreciation, there's a little bit of cash flow, there's jobs there, there's overbuilding there actually. And then Oklahoma City, because it's a growing area. Oklahoma City Thunder is in the NBA Finals, but it's a growing area. It's a very affordable area. It's more of a cash flow area. And then obviously I have single family homes in California, which is more appreciation, less cash flow. So, for me, I'd say real estate's pretty passive. Like I own 52 units. I've been doing this for 8 years. So I'm getting close to that financial freedom of, 10 to 15 years. It's probably looking closer to 15 years, or maybe like 12 years to 15 years is the most realistic. But, for me, I self-manage my single family homes in California, which is for the most part pretty passive because it's the same tenants. I don't have much tenant turnover, because relatively speaking, to live in the house, it's cheaper to rent versus to own it yourself. And the tenants have been great. They pay on time for the most part. If there's a repair issue, I just text my handyman. They go over there. But, I probably spend about on average maybe 3 to 4 hours a month managing my whole 52 unit portfolio, including my self-managed single family homes in California. I have a property in Huntsville, Alabama, which has a property manager. And then I have property managers for both my apartment complexes in Oklahoma. So like I said, I spend about maybe 4 hours a month on my portfolio. So it's super passive, but keep in mind, I finished renovating these. I finished, the busiest times when you're buying it, when you're making offers, when you're renovating it and stabilizing it. But now that it's stabilized, you know, everything's renovated. Like I spend 4 hours a week on my 52 unit portfolio, which brings in 10K a month passively, right? So this one takes a little bit longer. But once again, real estate income is not as guaranteed, I would say, because if you have a fixed roof, you get to fix plumbing, despite setting reserves aside, you might have to dip into your cash flow, right? Another thing towards fire, the longest, is just index funds. So if you dollar cost average index funds for like 20, 30 years, obviously you can, if you start at, let's say, 22, you can probably retire by 52 if you just dollar cost average index funds and you assume 7 to 8% growth per year. So that's kind of how I approach myself. And that's kind of the minimum, I would say. So for me, I started off in the index fund camp, and then being okay retiring by, like, let's say, early 50s. But then I pivoted to real estate with the goal of retiring in my mid 30 at the time, but realistically it's probably like my early 40s, so about 10 years faster compared to index funds. And simultaneously I am building a business, my coaching business, my mentorship business, my YouTube social media business. And I'm going on year 3 now, but it's honestly takes a long time. Like, I've been posting videos pretty consistently every day for about 3 years now, and have 6,000 subscribers, which isn't, like, in the big picture things, not that much, but more than I thought I'd get. But it's a slow grind. But luckily it cost me no money to, like, post on social media. And coaching, I love to coach naturally, because it just I just love to teach. It's the teacher in me. So I'm building that business as well. But like I said, I'm not really banking on it. If my coaching, my YouTube just blows up and makes me a bunch of money, then great. I would probably use that money to go buy more real estate, or to start wiping off some of my real estate debt. Because I know that income isn't always consistent and is not always guaranteed, right? Um, Versus real estate income, it's a little bit more guaranteed than business income, but that's not guaranteed either, right? If tenants stop paying. So for me, I'm just kind of doing the combination of, obviously, or I'm kind of doing a little bit all three. So, like, I'm doing index funds, which I'm doing passively. I'm doing real estate passive income, which was initially active, and when I was renovating properties and apartments, it was active, but now that stabilized, it's more passive. And then I'm also starting a business, but obviously not doing I'm doing a lower risk business where I'm putting not much capital up front, like, to do coaching, to do social media. It doesn't require much money up front. It just requires your time and consistency. So I'm kind of doing a combination of all three in order to kind of, like, hit fire. But as you can see, like, I'm doing a lot, right? Like, this is why fire is hard. Like, I'm literally working full time, and on my free time, or in between breaks and lunches on the weekends, I'm, like, literally buying real estate, renovating real estate, stabilizing real estate. Now that real estate is stabilized, now I'm building a business, right? My coaching business, my social media business. It takes time to, like, post every day and to take this action, right? Like, obviously I could be sitting here watching Netflix, sitting here watching sports, hanging out with friends, but I'm choosing to sacrifice some time to build a business. And that's why I don't edit my videos, because, like, I know that I don't want to pay for an editor. And then number two is, I just want to do something that I can sustain for a long period of time. And for me, unedited videos is the most sustainable for me, where I just can spend 15 minutes a day to record a video and post it, and hopefully over time it grows big, right? So it's doing the little things every day and getting improvement every day. But once again, that's why the fire movement is so hard, because you have to be willing to do all these things, right? And you have to risk losing money. Like, I lost money in my mobile park. I lost money doing an Amazon dropshipping business. I lost money opening my own pharmacy. And by losing money, I learned a lot, right? I learned to have focus. Like, just focus on what works for me, which is single family homes in Huntsville, Alabama, and apartments in Oklahoma. I learned that I don't want to do a business like that pharmacy, which requires brick and mortar and I have to pay rent, and it's expensive to start. Like, it starts like $30,000 minimum to start a pharmacy business, um, and have to pay rent and end up losing money on that. I just try to get rich quick with an Amazon dropshipping store, and realize that it's hard, right? There's a lot of regulations, a lot of stores are getting canceled, and it's not as popular anymore, right? So yeah, that's why I am approaching my business differently, where I want to have low overhead cost. I want it to be easy to sustain over a long period of time. And like, if through social media and YouTube, I can make like $100,000 a year from this, like, that's a win already, right? So between my, let's say, 100K a year through YouTube slash coaching slash social media, and then I'm making like 10K a month from my real estate portfolio. Um, and then on top of that, I have a paid off house and a minimum mortgage. That makes it a lot easier. But as you can kind of see, this is why fire is so hard, because I'm doing a combination of three different things, right? I have my index fund portfolio, right? Passive. I have my real estate portfolio, which is making 10K a month, which took me, 8 years to build up. And then now I'm building up um, my other low overhead business, social media. Obviously my channel gets a lot of views. I can make a decent amount of money from ad revenue. You can get sponsorships, and then for me, I have coaching, I have a mentorship on top of that. So it's all kind of tied together. But I'm not trying to get big from that. If like I said, make 100K from that, I'm good. And then on top of that, I'm like have to make moves to like keep my expenses as low as possible, right? So for me, I like to travel, so I'm starting to like credit card turn again. Like my wife just got a Chase Preferred card, and I gave her my referral link, and then she's gonna authorize me as a user because that's our joint credit card now. And then basically we're gonna use those points, and then after a year, we're gonna upgrade to the Chase Reserve, and then get that initial bonus as well. And then after that, we're gonna do the Capital, I think X card or the Capital Venture card, which is another travel card. So she'll open it up. So that's 4 credit cards for her, and then I'll open up the Capital Venture ones, which is 2 for me. So that's 6 more credit cards. So on average, each credit card bonus pays for like a round trip flight to Southeast Asia. So if we have 6 credit cards, that's 6 free flights that's covered for us to Southeast Asia, right? And I think the Chase Reserve is the best one, but I've had that for like at least 12 years now. But I lost the initial bonus, so I want to resign up for these cards to get the initial bonus, and then probably eventually go back to my Chase Reserve because I think that is the best one, to be honest. But I haven't tried Capital One yet. So right now, I think Chase Reserve is the best, but I haven't tried the Capital One. So obviously, Christine, my wife's gonna try that one first. So and then make me authorized user, so that we have a credit card that we can share. So I love spending money on travel, and like I said, I want end goal is 10K a month from real estate, which I currently hit 100K a year. Let's just call it 10K a month from social media / coaching / my business. And then I have a paid off mortgage. So my living expense is only $2,000 a month. At that point, fire is achievable, but like I said, it's not easy at all. Like I just listed so many different things that I need to do to achieve that fire movement. So that's why a lot of people, lose motivation, they burn out from it, and they end up leaving the fire movement. But what I will say is just do the fire movement in a way that's sustainable for you for long term. So I knew for me, I could sustain index funds. Super easy, super passive. I can sustain buying real estate every 2 to 3 years, slow and steady, long term rentals. No short term rentals, no midterm rentals. That's too passive or too active for me. But in the beginning, obviously, I put in a lot of work. With I bought 80 units in 8 months, burnt myself out, sold one for a loss, and then now I'm like, you know what? Can I comfortably buy one, let's say 20 to 30 unit apartment complex every 3 years where I'm fixing it up, I'm renovating it, I'm stabilizing it with the same team that I have? Yes, that's doable for me, right? Could I buy new build in Huntsville, Alabama sustainably? Yes, I could. It's very easy, very passive, right? You just buy the deal, you sign the paperwork, and then hand it off to the property manager, and they will rent it out to a tenant. Once it's rented out, you just buy your next one. That's very sustainable, right? But I have to save for 25-30% down to make these cash flow at these interest rates. So it takes a little bit longer, but could I consistently just buy new construction in Huntsville, Alabama, where the rents are good, where the appreciation is good, and it's new construction, so minimum maintenance? Yes, I could, right? And then could I consistently post unedited YouTube videos talking about whatever's on my mind? Yes, I could, right? So everything that as I'm doing, it's sustainable to my lifestyle without me burning out, right? Like I still I do a lot of these things, but I still do a lot of other things too, right? I have a social life. I spend time with my wife. I want to have a family eventually, and I like to travel. I like to experience new things, right? I never compromise that. That's why I try to work everything around my lifestyle, right? Like I choose a job that ideally fits my lifestyle. I create content based on my lifestyle. Like I don't want to edit a video. Like that sounds terrible to spend like 8 hours editing a video. I don't want to do that. That's not my passion. I'd rather just create 8 hours of content just by talking off the cuff, right? So it works for me and only me, right? Real estate, long-term rentals works. So that's why I said like the fire movement, it's hard, but play the fire movement in the way where it fits your lifestyle so you can do it for a longer period of time and not burn out, right? Like there's gonna be periods where it's really hard. There's gonna be periods where it's really easy, but make sure that you can sustain it over a long period of time. Could I sustain buying 80 units every 8 months by myself? No, I cannot, right? Especially when I was newer at it. But now I can sustain buying a new apartment complex, 23 units every single 2 to 3 years. Buy it, renovate it, copy and paste my renovations, same property manager, same general contractor, and you sustain that over time. Or I can buy turnkey apartments, right? But I have to put a larger down payment if I don't want to put in that work, right? So, do play the game to win long term. So think long term, you want to build a strong foundation, right? So that's why for me, that's why I'm a more dangerous investor now, because I have clarity in my buy box. I have clarity in what I want to buy. I have clarity in how I do it, and I'm patient. Once you have that formula, it's dangerous for the fire movement. So, like I said, fire movement's hard, but structure it in a way where it gets easier for you. So, anyways, hopefully this gave you some insight as to the fire movement. Hopefully this gave you some insight, some clarity as to how you should approach achieving fire in a sustainable way. And hopefully this kind of, by sharing my fire journey, it kind of helps you learn how to do it, right? Like I said, I'm doing all three methods: index funds, real estate, and business, right? But I'm playing it on my terms in a way that I can win the game. So anyways, if you want to learn to buy multifamily real estate with one-on-one coaching mentorship, click on my link tree down below. From there, you can see all the links to my courses, my coaching, my mentorship. From there, you can also send me an email as well if you want a discount code. Otherwise, please like, comment, subscribe. Hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much.